Welcome back to District 2 Sports Podcast. This is episode 13, and you're joined by your hosts, as always. It's Gregory, Devin, and Big Greg. And we also happen to have a special guest tonight. I'll let Big Greg kind of take it from here.
He's not being introduced right this second because we're going to tell each other how our week went. And just to let everybody know that I'm taking special control right now because if you can get this camera view right here, can y'all see this?
That man is on the bandwagon.
Can you see it? It's
Man,
my
Good,
new,
man.
I'm going to tell you, the perks of this job have just gotten better and better each week. The NFL has started listening regularly now, and Tremaine and the Chicago Bears sent me out a nice jersey today, and I wanted it wearing it specially for the podcast tonight. And as Devin says, a little bit of the Lord's nectar, sweet tea. I don't know. I can't mind. There it is. Can you see my chicken? But Greg, I got a question to ask you before we get involved in this and me introduce our special guest. You know, that trip you took out west last week or week 4, I'm getting ready to take this special trip, but put on by Twisted Dreams this week to Phoenix. Did you get to fly first class? Because my tickets aren't saying first class.
I did not. I went through first class to get to my
Okay.
seat, so Twisted
Okay.
Dreams not paying up.
Yes, I mean, hopefully, at least they keeping the lights on. But I was just curious because my tickets do not say first class. I think I'm in the next to the restrooms actually tomorrow.
So you're flying out tomorrow, and you gone all weekend for some football?
Be gone until Monday. Return Monday night.
Man, I'll
But
be at home alone with a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old, so that's my weekend. And it's Georgia, Florida here in Jacksonville, so I'll be at
well,
home.
little Dev could get down there and help you this weekend because I know he has nothing to do, right, Dev?
Yeah, that might be in the cards. We'll see. I'm representing as well. I got my Gator gear on, so I'm ready for Florida Georgia week as well.
Well, look, I know the our guy in the green room. He's beating the walls down. Can you hear him thumping on the side of the wall there? We got to get him out. So, listen, I want to introduce a very special friend of mine. And I'll go ahead and tell everybody now, Chris, I don't keep up with you as much as I should, and it's a darn shame that I don't. It's just, we live in the same state and we don't even go eat lunch hardly anymore, but we're
Man,
going to start doing this now. I mean, we're losing a lot of our guys, and I'm not saying we're going to lose each other, but we're losing a lot of friends in our classes now, and we just got to keep up relationships. But listen, special guest tonight is Director of Athletics for the VHSL, and this includes baseball, football, wrestling, and you can add anything you want to, but it's Mr. Chris Robinson. So thank you, buddy, for coming on tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
well, I guess we can get
That
into
wasn't
some.
too bad. That wasn't too bad of an introduction, but Greg, I've already got to start off launching a. You wear a Bears jersey the week after the most embarrassing play in NFL history
Oh yeah,
with the guy. But
Oh
you go ahead,
man,
buddy. You do you.
If the trip wasn't already scheduled, I probably wouldn't have it. But listen, let me tell you this quick little story about this jersey. I get online to, I need this jersey to go to this football game this weekend. And I get online and, you go on, I'm going to go ahead and say all this, but Fanatics, NFL.com, all these stores, they're like $169 to $189. So I find this jersey on something weird. I forget what, a U jersey or something like that for $39 and whatever 98 cents. So I pay the extra $30 to rush it and get it here. Well, I wind up filing a claim with the bank for disputing this charge because it took 2 or 3 weeks for it to get here. It's supposed to be here in 5 days. And lo and behold, Monday afternoon, I go out there to the little box out there on the side of the road and my jersey's sitting in there. It's crazy. And dude, this jersey is sweet. It's got sewed on letters. This ain't no iron-ons, bro. This is sewed on.
that just sounds like self-incriminating evidence right there.
Look, we stealing all of Chris's thunder now. So listen, Chris, we wanted you on here. We usually go through last week's scores and upcoming games, and we also put together a top 10 list. And I think Gregory, he'll go through the standings and through how the playoffs are set up for one,
Mhm.
two, three, whatever group these guys in. So our questions will Probably it's no telling when they'll come to you, but they're going to come to you sooner or later. We've got some good ones for you.
I don't have any doubt about that.
Well, I'll just start off with last week. Some games in our area, typically around the Roanoke, Lynchburg, and Danville area. So just from some big games from last week, I think our biggest game we had, it was a top 5 matchup in our top 10 poll, was that Lord Botetourt at William Fleming game. Chris, I'm sure you've heard a lot about William Fleming and Lord Botetourt, both of them competing in their respective regions. But William Fleming continues to dominate, won 35-17, so they stay undefeated there. Another big game in Lynchburg was Rustburg and Amherst. Both teams kind of fighting for, I don't know, maybe third, fourth place there in the Seminole. Rustburg came up on top, 21-17. GW, we're all from 56-9 over Halifax, and you kind of mentioned how Halifax used to be a doozy back in the day, but came pretty easy last week. Let's see here. I guess some more games here. You talked about Perry McClure and Alta Vista and how that would be a tough one, but Alta Vista won 57-0, so they continue to roll and continue to build their resume for our top 10. Looks like they'll be staying there for another week at least.
Do you want to let everybody know what kind of mentality I went through mental breakdown and everything that I went through last Friday night after I picked and make sure Alta Vista stays in our top 10?
Oh yeah, you texted me Alta Vista losing 52-0. I was like, that doesn't sound right at all. And of course, I guess that was at Lynchburg News had it wrong, had it backwards. So Alta Vista was up like 52-0 over Perry McClure. There's a couple more games. Gretna over Nelson County, 38-6. Devon's boys took my guys down. Denver 53-32 over Chatham. It was very close in the beginning, and then Denver kind of just kept on piling up on there. Allegheny. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say you've been disrespecting Dan River all year just for it to come back around and bite you.
I know. I can't say much. I know. I can't say much. I can't really say anything.
Little bro calling him out.
When I saw Dan River was up, I was like, oh no, this is gonna be bad next episode. But hey, we're both fighting for out of last place there in the dogwood. So Gretna 38-6 over Nelson County. Allegheny 47-10 over Patrick County. So they're our newcomer to our top 10 as well. So they continue to roll. And then Stanton River over Northside 10-7. So we talked about Northside being a good team and their schedule this year, but Stanton River continues to battle. They played one heck of a schedule as well. So any other games that stood out to you guys this week?
Yeah, I would like to bring one up that you have failed to mention. It involves a team that you were heavy on at the beginning of the year. Looks like they took one on the chin this past Friday night, 45-0. LCA over EC Glass.
All right, come on. I mean, Chris, listen. EC Glass had some great wins to start the year off. I think they played Patrick Henry, Roanoke. They beat Lord Botetourt, so they were 2-0, two really good wins, and they kind of just failed from there. So I think you can understand my reasoning for being high on EC Glass in the beginning.
You see, he's very quiet.
Guys, you got to understand, I work for the high school league. I'm cheering for all of them.
Oh yeah, but you can understand where I'm coming from if you saw that when you said there's wins. But yeah, I think another one I almost forgot about was William Byrd, 17-10 over Franklin County. So
it's hard to get a former Eagle to speak overly positive about EC Glass. I mean, if we're just keeping it real, but I'll probably be reprimanded for that comment when this goes live. But anyway.
Well, we can edit that out later.
I'm just kidding.
I think,
yeah, you did skip over one. Chris, just to let you know, I don't know how much you've been keeping up with Hidden Valley whatsoever. It's been a tough year for those guys, and they haven't won yet, but they did keep it close against Blacksburg over the weekend, 28-7. So we're glad to see that they did get on the board in another game, so that they have kept it close. Poor Tunstall took it on the chin, 51-8 to Mecklenburg County. And our newcomer to the poll, Allegheny, just rolled again this weekend, so they took Patrick County out 47-10. Listen, before we proceed with any more football, I have a breaking news. I have an announcement to make. Tunstall wins the Piedmont volleyball tournament tonight, 3-2 over Magna Vista. They won the regular season as well. And Chris probably already knows this, but they will host the first round of the regionals Monday night. So good luck to the Trojans in volleyball.
What was
Congratulations.
the girl
Impressive.
you said was really good on the team?
Kamari Mays.
That's what
Hey,
it is.
listen, I made another phone call this week, and I sent out a huge email, and you'll never guess where it went, G.
Oklahoma. No, Tim Walton.
Tim Walton. I
Yep.
sent a big email to Tim Walton this week, so hadn't heard anything back, so just waiting. So, Chris, now let's go ahead and while Gregory has mentioned this, let's go ahead and I know this is not going to be on your list right now, so but don't worry, it should be an easy or it could be difficult, who knows? But is the VHSL involved, or will be, or has been involved in the NIL deals that are currently going on with high school kids that are, trying to get into college somewhere? I mean, I'm just curious if VHSL has any interest, or is that something you guys are beating feet away from?
No, you would be amazed at how quickly that trickled down from, because again, I don't know, a year or 2 years ago, you'd have sworn NIL was all about the college game, but it has already trickled down. We actually passed legislation about a year ago to put some policies in place to help protect the students and the athletes around the state to make sure they didn't do something to jeopardize their eligibility. So in a nutshell, our legislation is basically, it's just simply that they can engage in NIL activities, but it cannot have anything to do with their high school team, the district, the region, the state. If you, for example, were back in your baseball days and NIL existed, you could sign a glove deal or a bat deal or something of that nature, but it couldn't have anything to do with you and your GW uniform.
Oh, wow. Okay. So if since Mr. Farthing had those Jesse Jones hot dogs down at the concession stand, we could have done something, huh?
We probably could have pushed something with some of those hot dogs back in the days.
People think I'm crazy, but I tell them every day. They ask what what my pregame meal was. It was 3 hot dogs, ketchup, chili slaw, a Snicker bar, and a large Pepsi. So roll on.
And it's showing now.
You're right. Caught up to me.
Should we
go ahead with
our top 10?
Yeah, or you want to do this week, and then do the top 10 so we can see if any games are going to be
we can do that,
affected by it.
So let me see here. So I have next week, so 11-1 will be a Friday here. Wayne Fleming at Franklin County. So another road game there for Wayne Fleming, looking to stay undefeated there. See William Byrd at Stanton River, so that'd be a little bit of a rivalry game there, close by schools. Should be a good one there. Alta Vista and Nelson County. Never know when you go on the road to Nelson County up there, a long trip. You could see maybe being a closer game than usual for Alta Vista. A couple of good games in the Seminole. Amherst plays Jefferson, or goes to Jefferson Forest. So Amherst is looking to get in the playoffs, need some couple wins there. So a big win at JF would help them a lot. EC Glass and Heritage, so battle for Lynchburg there. I might send Devin out there to kind of cover that. And a game that's going to be pivotal, or might kind of seal up the district for GW, is traveling to Mecklenburg County this week. So they got that big win over Magna Vista. Magna Vista kind of sealed. If they were to lose a game, they would be, get that spot still. So if they can beat Mecklenburg County, they can kind of seal the district there. Salem at Christiansburg, and Lord Bottot at Northside. Some other ones.
I think you skipped right over another one, and I'm going to throw this out here. I just want to know, I'm going to throw the question. Chris probably can't speak of it, but there's a big game up in the Roanoke Valley this weekend between Hidden Valley and Pulaski. Does Hidden Valley have a chance?
He
can't come in. He pulls everybody.
Where is the game being played?
It's at Pulaski. Has Pulaski won yet? I don't think they've won either.
I think they've got one win, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
And just a couple weeks ago, Pulaski put up 40 plus on Salem, which is a really good team. So they can put points on the board. I think Hidden Valley's had a tough time putting points on the board, so um, it might be another one for for Pulaski there.
You stats gurus, nobody has told me what my guy did Friday night. I made another bold prediction. So what did he do? Does anybody know?
He only ran for 299.
That's just wrong.
I'm not sure, but it's hard to find stats out there nowadays on
I
the
can't
high
get
school
them.
ranks.
I don't know unless somebody just puts them online or puts them on Facebook. I don't have no clue. But Chris, I've gone online and on the wire twice and said that Gideon Davidson would get 300 yards, and then each time I do, he gets 99, or doesn't even play the second half or something like that. So it's kind of rough on me. But and these two guys, they will let you know it too. So they don't have any problem.
I got you here. 148 yards and 3 scores for Gideon.
3 touchdowns, man. I tell you. Well, I'm only off by 150 yards, so oh well. But no, we can do your top 10 now.
All right, I do want to share the top 10 here, so I want to make sure people can see what we're looking at here. So you guys can see that, it's perfect. So this is from last week. Ignore October 18th. That was on whoever set this up, messed up on that one. But 1, we have Liberty Christian. 1B, William Fleming. 3, Heritage. 4, GW Danville. 5 was Lord Botetourt, so probably looking to move down. They're 6-2 now. JF, Alta Vista, Allegheny, Salem, and North Cross there. So the newcomer North Cross from the private ranks.
You know what? This is so nice. I mean, I just can't believe we're this high tech on here. I really can't. This is nice. I'm sorry about the wrong date, but that's okay, Greg. I mean, this is beautiful.
I didn't do it. I don't know who did that. So well, I'll get in touch with somebody.
Okay. And then you got just outside the top 10 too. That's so nice. It really is.
Yeah, but let's attack Lord Botetourt. They lost to our number 1 team, so I mean, you can't penalize them too much. Is anyone falling out? That's the only team that lost in our top 10 here.
Devin, I mean, I know we always consult on this, and I would probably, y'all probably not gonna like this, but I would probably move Lord Botetourt. I would probably move him to 8th above Salem and North Cross.
I'm fine with that.
With me, at this point, looking at how Salem has been playing, they put up at least 40 points their last 5 games in a row, I think. I'm almost thinking that Salem should be ahead of Lord Botetourt now.
If that's what you think, and are they in the same conference? They're not, are they?
Salem and Lord Botetourt?
Yeah.
No, I don't. Oh, you know what? I'm not sure.
3 and 1's 4, right?
Well, they're 2 different classifications, but
okay.
I think they're in different districts as well. So
I'm with Devin. I'd put him 9th and put Salem 8th.
All right, so we'll move up JF to 6, or up to 5. Sorry, JF 6. We'll move up to Alta Vista. I'm almost okay with moving Alta Vista back. Putting Allegheny in front of them.
Oh my God!
Oh, but we'll keep Alta Vista at 6 there. We'll move them up. 7, Allegheny. 8, Salem. Is that what we said?
Yep.
And then 9, LB, and North Cross there at 10. So everyone agrees.
Yes.
One sec. Actually.
Oh boy.
Who was Lord Botetourt's 2 losses? William Fleming
and EC
Glass. Remember
they
lost. They
beginning
lost
of the
at
year.
home. EC Glass was on the road. Remember those tough road games?
Yeah.
Beginning of the year, first game of the year.
I think the quality of Salem's 2 losses are a little bit better than Lord Botetourt's.
I'm with you, 100%.
I can't disagree. I mean, Salem lost to our 2 number 1s there, tied for first place, so I can't disagree with that.
And they're playing football right now too. I mean, you watch the highlights every Friday night. These guys are running and passing. They're really good.
All right, so we'll make the changes there. So while we have Mr. Robinson here, or Chris, I'm sorry, I did want to bring up the weekly rankings. So we kind of look at these every week. So I'm gonna share this as well.
All right, before you do that, let me ask him something real quick, okay? All right, Chris, I need an explanation of why, to your best ability anyway, of why we have conferences made up of multiple classes or
Yeah.
Is that what I'm trying to say? Classes or whatever, such as a or double A or triple A, such as Piedmont with GW, which would, in our days was triple A. I don't know what we are now, what they're considered 4, 5A, 6A, something, I don't know. Magna Vista, Tunstall, and Halifax, Bassett, and then the Dogwood with Alta Vista, Gretna, and Chatham. I mean, I just kind of, I mean, I knew it was coming. I thought in my back of my mind, I thought it was something to do with travel, but I'll let you go in depth on it.
I love how you try to set the table like that. But no, on a serious, the districts, if I'm not mistaken, go as far back as probably 1970. And what happened is, again, when we were going through school, it was 3 classifications: single A, double A, triple A. And then several years ago, we expanded to 6 classes. But the classes, the classification where the schools are aligned was meant to, I guess, enhance, if you will, the ability of schools to play similar size schools in the postseason. It was not really meant to impact the regular season. So the districts never really went through any type of wholesale change other than, unfortunately, they lost some of their maybe the strength, if you will, of the districts dwindled because, again, the old days was you played your district tournament, you would advance to regions, and if you won regions, you would advance to states. Well, now the districts, we still have some districts in the state that do it the old-fashioned way, but many of them are just going straight from regular season play to region play. So the reason there's so many mixed class districts is those were never really changed or altered when we went to 6 classes because it really wasn't meant to change that. But I guess an unintended consequence of the 6 classifications is the districts have just become a regular season scheduling component for schools. And again, to your point, I think you mentioned just a second ago, it is a travel piece, but you also have schools that have been in districts for decades where they are used to and comfortable with the schools that are in those districts. They enjoy working together. They have established rivalries. Some of them maybe are those games that provide them very well financially. The Friday Night Lights, they make a lot of money, which also helps fund other parts of their athletic department. So could be really any number of things, but that's sort of it in a nutshell, but certainly can try to clear up any other questions you might have on that end.
All right, so kind of a facetious question here,
Mm-hmm.
possibly. So let's just use that Piedmont district with
Mm-hmm.
GW, Tunstall, Magna Vista, Bassett, and Halifax. All right, so I guess what I'm asking here is, is there a Piedmont district winner first and foremost, and then with the different classifications in there, I'm assuming GW is a 4, maybe. Is that right,
Mm-hmm.
Gregory or Chris?
Yeah, there are 4.
All right, and then Tunstall is a 3.
Yes.
All right, so you're going to have a determined winner of the of the Piedmont district, and then after play in that district, 4 goes to 4 playoffs, 3 goes to 3 playoffs, 2 goes such and such. I mean, but you're still going to have a Piedmont district winner.
I can't speak to what every district is doing or what they're recognizing or not, but yes, in theory, you would still consider yourself a district champion, I guess, if that's what the district has decided amongst themselves. And that's what's a little bit of a misnomer, not to get in the weeds so early, but districts and regions have a lot of autonomy to structure how they do their business, how they conduct their tournaments, how they advance. We, as a high school league, take over once they advance to the state tournament. So they want that autonomy, that flexibility to do what works for them, what works best for the schools that are in their regions. They want that ability to make those decisions and not be top down.
So, like, as I'll go back and what you just said. So, if the commissioner or whatever of the Piedmont district says, "Hey, we're not going to recognize a season winner or whatever. Just you go on about to the playoffs. Is that a possibility? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because again, that's just where we've evolved, if you
Okay.
will. Again, GW would win the Western Valley District, and that gave them an automatic bid. When I was the athletic director at Verona, if we won the Capital District, we had an automatic bid to the postseason. But then our rating would dictate where our seeding is, but we made it. And that's just not an automatic any further. There's no more automatic qualifiers. You're based off uh, the rating system that I'm sure we're going to probably talk about later, but also, again, each region has the ability, if they want to take the top 8 teams, we have some regions around the state that are taking top 6. So
Yeah, Gregory, let's go through those classes and the ratings, and then let's save these other questions for after we hear those numbers and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm pulling it up now. So we are. I'll share it now. Hope you guys can see that. So these are updated as of I think 10/25, is that, or 10/28? Sorry. So you can kind of see here that Alta Vista is already kind of one in there, Region 1B, with a pretty good lead. So I guess just to kind of dumb it down, or even for me, Chris, so when you get these rankings or do these ratings, it kind of factors in if you play a 1A team, 2A team, 3A team, and so forth. If you beat them at home or beat them away, and if you lose, like depending on who you play, is that how you kind of take it into factor?
it's basically just winning and losing.
Okay.
And there could be, and of course, we have overtime procedures now, so I don't know that a tie would ever occur unless something kind of crazy happens. But it's basically based off wins and losses.
Okay. You get more points for playing a 4A versus a 3A team, or is it still the same?
That's what's can be a little interesting, and if you don't sort of follow up or read a little bit further, it can be a little confusing. Our playoff system, I don't like saying this, but it's just the reality. It's become a very convoluted system.
Gotcha.
It is a very difficult system to track unless you're really just paying attention and have taken the time to study our rating system. But to try to answer your question, I think what happened is we had a period of time where, and it's a little bit goes back to Greg's point about a larger school and a district with some other smaller schools. So early on, we have a playoff rating committee that meets every year that reviews and talks about the rating system. And I've only done this is my 3rd year, so I don't know exactly all of the history, but what I'm kind of putting together is, so GW is playing in the Piedmont District. Well, GW shouldn't be penalized for playing schools that they're districted to play and required to play. So a Class 4 school would typically get 22 points for a win against a Class 4. But then to Greg's point, if they play Tunstall and beat Tunstall, they would get 20 points, but each team you get 2 bonus points for playing someone below you. So you're not getting penalized for playing a smaller opponent. And hopefully I don't mean to insult your intelligence. I don't know how deep y'all have gone into this, but, and you can stop me if I get too crazy. But so in theory, yes, there are classes 1 through 6, and yes, there are different points that you get, but a larger school will not be penalized for playing a smaller school. Especially when it's in their district, because they're, if you will, forced by handbook policy to play their district schedule unless there's been some type of a waiver given or approved at the district level. But that's a whole nother conversation. So does that make sense?
Let me butt in just a second. Let me ask something. Like I said, I've taken Hidden Valley under my wing all year. So let's just say, so if no matter who's playing, if they play Hidden Valley, let's use a GW or use a William Flynn. If they play Hidden Valley and win, they get to 22 points. because they're in their conference or in the same class or
If,
whatever.
for example, and not to get too crazy, if Hidden Valley was in the same district as GW, and GW is a 4 and Hidden Valley is a 3, they're going to get the same value that they would get for playing a Class 4 school.
So do you get any additional points? And I heard what you said just a minute ago. You get bonus points for playing somebody less so that you don't get penalized for playing somebody under you or with a smaller class or whatever. So do you get punished, or do you actually gain any points with the team that you beat winning further, winning their season, winning their games on their schedule? I know it used to be a point where this has been years ago. Yeah.
So if again, if not to pick on GW, but I mean, we're all from Danville. So if GW plays Hidden Valley, they're going to get those 22 points. And then if Hidden Valley goes and wins however many games they win, they get 2 additional points for each game that Hidden Valley wins. If they were to lose to Hidden Valley, they're still getting that 22 off the bat, but then they're getting 1 point for each team that Hidden Valley wins because they got beat by Hidden Valley. So it's either 2 or 1 depending on their result head to head.
So if Hidden Valley they go 0-10 this year, you're not losing anything, not losing any points because you beat them. And they you're
not losing points because you beat them, but you're also not benefiting because they didn't win any games. So you're not getting those additional rider points.
That makes sense. So, I mean, for instance, here, like GW, Jefferson Forest, they're both 7-1, but I guess it just matters who they've played and who they lost to as well. So that's very close there in the ratings. I mean, by a point. So, it'd be interesting to see how that plays out too.
Yes, it will. And if you scroll through these, there's a number of ties.
Oh yeah,
not necessarily for first place or the first seed, but some cases are going to be that 7-8 seed to factor if they get in or not. So it's going to be interesting here these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, just looking through the schedule, you can see a ton of those close ratings. So I mean, a lot of these are decided by like I mean, a tenth of a point. So lots of close ones here. So it just matters what you're going to do. I think it's 2 games left, 3 games left. So very big to get some wins here last week.
All right, so let me ask another question here. So I'm looking at these. All right, so Gregory, with right there with 5C. So Fleming, I've never been able to say that next.
Matoka.
All right, Midlothian. I'm just using that class right there. All right, so in 5C, how many teams is that right there? 8, 10, 12? How many is that right there?
Because they could 5C could do something that's different from 5D as far as like their region playoff, right, Chris? They could take like the top 8 or do 12 if they wanted to. Do a bye.
Well, they couldn't do 12.
Oh, just got to do
the max you can take. The max you can take is 8.
8. Okay.
So basically, what you have 2 or 3 regions around the state that are maybe taking the top 6.
Gotcha.
All right, so I'm asking this question. I'm using it 5C Fleming and down to J.R. Tucker. Are all of those teams in that section right there? Are they from all? I mean, this is the entire state. 5C is the entire state, or
it should be split into sections of the state, like it should be west, central, east, or whatever. I guess how they putting on the region.
You kind of got Roanoke going through Richmond and the Tri-Cities area around like Prince George area.
These are the teams that, like I said, the ones that are listed right now. I know we got a lot listed, but when we get down to that 8, 10, 12, 6, 8, whatever y'all just said, these are the teams that will be playing for the state championship right here.
If they make their region, make their region playoffs.
Yeah, if they make the region playoffs, yes.
Right.
Yeah. So how 5C does it, they'll.
So for example, I mean, I guess if I'm understanding you, and you can correct me, 5C and 5D both take the top 8.
Gotcha.
So whatever this top 8 ends up being, they're going to advance to their regional playoffs. And then the winner of Region C will play Region D in the state semifinal.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. C
plays D.
C, it's basically A versus B and C versus D, because that does help with travel. Now, just to muddy the waters, Class 6 and Class 4 have agreed upon a cross bracket
Oh, wow.
across their classification. So their matchups are a little bit different. So, for example,
Is that new for this year, or
this, excuse me?
is that new for this year, or is that something they've been doing for a little bit, for a while?
Class 6 started it last year.
Wow.
And so this will be their second year, and Class 4 started it this year.
Wow.
So, for example, Class 6, now it's funny just because of the rotation. Class 6 is actually going to be A, B, C, D this year. But Class 4, for example, is going to be B versus C and A versus D.
Oh, wow.
All right,
So if you look at
what
that,
you just said right there, all right, so it's 4 classifications. All right, so GW, would you say A versus D? So GW, I'm just using GW as an example. If they made it to the semis and Phoebus made it to the semis, they would play for the title.
they would play for the semis.
Oh, semis, okay.
Yeah, semis, and
semis,
what are that?
okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Man, okay.
So
That's different.
Well, they wouldn't have to play Dinwiddie again until the championship.
Yeah, and then Dinwiddie match up with whoever's in C. So that's different. It used to be like that, the East versus West type of matchup. So I really liked watching that, just because, sometimes you can have an A and B there. So you have like Richmond and the East, playing against the for the title. So that'll be a lot different.
Well, and again, several years ago, the league was facing some significant financial challenges, significant challenges. And one of the ways to try to remedy that was doing the A versus B and C versus D, because again, there certainly will be some outliers from time to time, but by and large, that's putting the two regions that are closer together, that is decreasing the amount of travel. But what's happened is, now that we've gotten into a better place, we're trying to reevaluate and revisit the cross bracketing to again get away from, you're kind of seeing potentially the same teams year in and year out. And that sort of gets to be probably more prevalent in some of the other sports that are playing A, B, C, D, because they're playing straight through both a quarter and a semifinal, where football is a little bit different because you're going straight to the semifinal round.
All right, so I'm looking at 4D again. I'm doing this because I need some help, okay? Intellectual stability. All right, so in all reality, if you look at 4D, GW in the Piedmont is 4-0. And then look down about number 6, Mecklenburg County, 3-1 in the district. So this game this week actually means something. It is in district terms, I guess. So I guess what I'm trying to say is they're a part of the Piedmont in Class 4D. So over here where it says District 4-0, so is that saying that the Piedmont is declaring them as the champion if they go, whatever, if they win it? Is that what that's saying? Because
I don't know.
District games.
I don't know the answer to that, because again, that's the Piedmont might be doing one thing and the Seminole could be doing something different. The Northwestern could be, the Piedmont and the Northwestern could be saying they're going to be a district champ. But I think what it's saying, you can consider yourself a champ, I guess, but it's doing is it's not going to help you with your seeding at all.
Yeah, I think you're caught up on the districts, because when we played, it meant a lot to win your district and move on. But now you're just kind of in there, like we said, for traveling, and
if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't that long ago that winning to Greg's point, and I know why he's harping on it, because one, that's what we grew up with, but two, there's any number of people that would like to get back to where the districts would mean something.
Yeah.
And be a part of that advancing model. But if I'm not mistaken, there was a time where being the champion would allow you to be ranked. You would automatically go to one of the higher seeds, and then the remaining brackets and filled in by those teams that just fill in the other spots. But,
yeah. Oh, wow.
But now it's not necessarily the case.
I wish they would have had this back in 2009, because I had to win. We played in our district semifinals outside of Chatham. We lost in our district semifinal and can't make it to the district championship, so we didn't make the region. So if we would have
because
had that,
two
we could have
free
made
throws were missed
it. It
while
wasn't
they
me.
were there were two free throws that were crucial, and they were ahead the whole game and missed two free throws at the end.
It wasn't me.
Chris, I'm going to ask you a question, if that's all right.
You fire away, my man.
So you talked a little bit earlier about how just the system, the playoff system in particular, is a little convoluted. Do you have any ideas or any suggestions as a way to kind of make it a little bit more simplified, or any ideas for the future as far as the whole playoff system? It's okay if you don't. It's okay.
As much as he can share.
It would be too, no, it's nothing like that. It'd be too easy if I had like it's the old adage of don't come with me with a problem unless you have a solution. I don't know that I have a perfect solution. I think what has happened, and I applaud the people, because again, these people are volunteering their time to help serve on these committees and help put forth policy and ratings and how we're doing things. So I know their heart was always in the right place. I just think they were trying to check so many boxes that it's just gotten so cumbersome, because this point system, for example, not only are you having to track and follow playing your fellow high school league schools, but then you also take into account parts of our state, Southwest Virginia, for example, that could be playing North Carolina schools, Kentucky schools, Tennessee schools. Well, again, they shouldn't be penalized because they're in the southwestern part of the state. So we need to, for lack of a better word, accommodate the fact that they're playing out of state. So now you have to now add all of those games into the rating system. You also have to, we then have to go, and if a school's playing somebody in Tennessee, we have to get that school's in Tennessee's enrollment and then put them in our rating system based on our current alignment plan. So if a school's the same size as if GW, just for whatever reason, is going to go out to Bristol, Tennessee, and play somebody, or Kingsport, whatever the case is, Dobbins Bennett, wherever they are, that's the first name that pops out. They're going to go play Dobbins Bennett. We've got to get their enrollment and then place them in our rating scale based on our current alignment numbers. So they could be a 5, they could be a 2, whatever that case is. So I also
they used to go down to North Carolina. I mean, you're hitting the nail on that, Roxborough, and also go to Durham and play Hillside. So yeah, I see what you're saying.
So again, everybody's a little bit different, and you're trying to accommodate their needs because of where they are. Again, to Greg's point, I think there was even a time, this is after we graduated, but they were playing more teams from Greensboro than they were in the state of Virginia, just because of the distance. So the one thing that we have talked about doing, and our intent, and this is not any big secret, we are planning on getting out of the rating business next year and discontinue all of this. And what we're going to do is each region will be charged with determining how their teams will advance to the regional playoffs. And one, it's just gotten too convoluted, as I've said multiple times. I'll be honest with you, a very selfish reason. The person that has done this point system for probably the last 30 years retired. And she knew this point system up, down, left, right, every which way. So when you have that amount of knowledge that's walking out of the building, it's just time to probably do something a little bit different. And if you think about it, all of our regions are already doing this for every other sport that we have. We don't have any point system for any other sport except football. So it also becomes a little bit of that, why are you treating one sport this way and not? Now, we have tried to talk about a universal point system, one that would be much simpler, not having to factor in all those other things out of state and smaller class, bigger class, whatever the case is. So there's probably different things you could do, Devin, but I don't have the perfect answer. But we're kind of just going to put this back in the region's court because again, they're already doing it for their other sports.
See, Gregory, those 2 free throws wouldn't have killed you after all. So you wouldn't have made it no matter what. But Chris, all right. So I know I'm hung up on this whole thing. So is there a poll like top 10 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, or is it just all these region numbers with where the statistics come in for winning, losing, whatever, beating the team? Is that all we do now? Does VHSL put a poll out now?
We do not.
Okay.
You're talking about like the top 10, like you presented earlier?
Yeah, but
No.
it used to be each class had a, especially when we were in high school, we'd pay a lot of attention to it. But every Monday or Tuesday, the AP or whatever poll would come out, VHSL poll would come out, and it'd be the top 10 for 1A, 2A, and 3A. So you knew where you stood all year. So I didn't know if it was anything like that still out there or not.
I'm not aware of I guess what I'm gonna call is a standalone poll other than just these, what Gregory put up earlier, what we
Gotcha.
were looking at when we were talking about some of the other questions. I'd say in most cases that was done by local media outlets. For example, I'm in the Richmond area, so the Richmond Times-Dispatch is always putting out, or WTVR that does the Friday night football highlights show, they do a top 10 or a top 6, whatever they decide to do. But if that was done previously, that predates me in the league office, so I'm not really used to that.
Yeah, I think Virginia Preps does some stuff on the side too. So
Virginia Preps and probably Max Preps does quite a bit.
Chris, I had a question, and I don't want to keep you too long, but this is kind of off the grid a little bit, but I'm down here in Jacksonville, Florida, so their system down here is just completely different. Like seems kind of wide open. The preps and privates are all together.
They're wide open down there in a lot of ways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like their districts, their state tournaments, and it's every classification has preps and privates in it. I don't believe they have I forgot what Liberty Christian. They had like a multiplier. I think it was like a 1.5 multiplier. I don't think they have it down here. But just kind of go back to Liberty Christian when they joined. Did you think there would be a bunch of other like privates kind of joining the VHSL as well, or was it just Liberty Christian on their own kind of looking to join the VHSL?
Well, again, I was an athletic director at a high school at that time, so I don't know that I was as involved with those conversations. But I think to answer your question, I think initially it was truly about Liberty Christian. Now, I think there was just a natural assumption that once one took that step, there would probably be others to follow. And I think there's been any number of that have inquired about it. Now, we actually just approved a private school that will be joining the league next year, and that will be Smith Mountain Christian.
Wow.
I got to make sure I get Smith Mountain Lake Christian Academy.
Yeah.
And there'll be a Class 1 school, and they were just approved for membership and placed for starting next year.
All right, so kind of a crazy question, piggybacking on what Gregory just said. You just mentioned that these teams joined the VHSL, and I know I'm kind of going to be, it's crazy off the wall comment. Is this like getting out of the ACC and paying a bunch of money and going to the SEC or something to that effect? I mean, how does this work? Is there something they have to pay to get into the VHSL or what?
Yeah, oddly enough, the VHSL is a nonprofit organization. I don't know if you knew that or not, but we're a nonprofit organization that services the 318 member schools. So it's public. Mainly people identify us with the public schools, but there's nothing preventing us from accepting a private school. We just, but it would be a non-boarding school. We wouldn't accept a non-boarding school, is my understanding. So, but again, so Smith Mountain Lake has been talking to us for a period of time and finally decided to join. So again, I think there was a thought that others would come and follow, but it just hasn't been quite to the extent that maybe some thought it would be. But by and large, the private schools, they are a part of their VISA, the Independent School Association. And I think for large part, they're happy with their system that they have and they're a part of. They have, I, I think they have a little bit more autonomy, school by school versus having a wider set of policies. I don't know. I'm probably already out of my lane because I'm not a part of VISA and not a part of the private school league. Uh, but yes, to answer your question, they pay a membership fee, which is pretty nominal. I think it's like right around $800 to be a member. And then each school pays an insurance fee. We provide insurance to cover the athletes when they're practicing and participating in sports. So they give us a number of the athletes that they have and multiply that out, whatever that comes. So usually most schools are joining for probably, it just varies depending on school size and the number of activities. Because we offer 27 sports and I think 13 activities now. So we've got a large number of opportunities that we're providing for kids. So between the membership fee, covering the insurance, and that also covers their rule books and things that we provide them for each of their teams and programs.
All right, I knew I was going to ask this because I've floated this around between Devin and Gregory many days. So if I'm GW High School, because we're using them tonight as our example, could I declare myself as independent and then play anybody I want to play in a schedule and still play for a state championship in the VHSL? Such as, what's this team the other year we make fun of that went down to IMG and got beat by 100 points? Who was that?
Oh,
Bishop Sycamore.
Bishop Sycamore. Yeah. So
what do you mean? Like they would still be part of VHSL, it'd just be an independent district?
Yeah, they
conference.
Just play their own schedule. They would play, say I wanted to play Hampton, I want to play LCA, I want to play. I mean, you basically just your high, you big dog names and have a big crowd at the game. That's what I'm kind of saying. Could you do that and still play for a state championship by chance? I mean,
no.
Considering you win all the games, but could you declare yourself? Okay.
No, and it's twofold. And again, I feel like I need to expand just a little bit. So we do have schools. We have a handful of schools that are playing what we would call an independent schedule, i.e., they're not playing a full district schedule.
Okay.
But by and large, those are examples of schools whose programs, their participation numbers are down. They're struggling to be competitive, and they're electing with the support of their fellow district schools to not play everybody in that district because they're at a disadvantage because they're just not there competitively. They're not there from a number standpoint. It could be a safety issue putting those two teams out there on the field together. So we do allow them the flexibility to go and play more comparable competitive type schools in those situations. But to get to where I think you were going, if you do that, your district has to also support that you're doing that. And the region that you're a part of has to approve that you would be eligible for playoffs.
Gotcha.
So I guess in theory you could do it, but it's not so much it's never been from the perspective of we're too good and we want to go play these other strong programs. It's been more about the schools that are struggling or just trying to maintain and build their programs back up.
Well,
some have not worried about being playoff eligible, and you have some that still want to be able to have that goal or that opportunity if they were to put themselves in position to do that.
I think Nelson County did that a few years ago, and they're very competitive now. So I think it works for some teams.
It does. I mean, it does, but there's some, and it's not isolated to one part of the state
Hmm.
versus another. It's pretty, it's widespread, and when I say widespread, it's from one end to the other. It's not in the Richmond or the Roanoke or the Northern Virginia area, for example.
So the VHSL, and since you're a part of it, do you guys, and you mentioned something about finding out competitiveness and stuff like that. I'm not going to say this school's name again and again, but when you guys get up on Saturday morning or look at Friday football extra on Friday night and you see 90-0, you see
Mhm.
72-6 next week, you see 63-0, then I mean, is that something that catches your guys' eyes and ears that maybe y'all need to check into and see, if there's an issue? Or I'm just curious about stuff like that, because I mean, is that a competitive thing, or I mean, is it a school that's basically maybe they don't have the seniors that have been there in the past and they're playing a freshman group or something to that effect?
It it could be probably D, all the above. But yes, those scores certainly stick out. Um, uh, Certainly, you don't like to see situations like that. You hope that if it's a situation where a school's just in a better situation right now versus one that's building and trying to get themselves back on track, you hope they would handle that the right way. I mean, we do have a running clock rule that starts with the second half to try to alleviate some of that. But at the end, you just hope that the coaches will handle it the right way and um, treat those kids and those other coaches with the same kind of respect that they would want if that shoe was on the other foot in a given year. But certainly at different times, we will reach out to schools and just talk through those situations and just get. It's not that we have answers or have policy toward it. It's versus just checking in and just seeing where we are and is there something we can do to try to help them as they're working through those kinds of things.
Well, I'll mention our guy GW again, but in a different sport. And the reason why I asked that question is because we did an interview with Michael Pritchett, the head baseball coach at GW, and they were in a situation several years ago where there was no team there, no team available, nobody came out, couldn't put a team on the field, and then a year or 2 years, 3 years later, they're finally playing baseball. But the scores were so astronomical that they wound up. I don't know if they completed the season, but they also started playing a JV schedule. I don't know if they started playing it during that year or they played it the next year. But just a matter of not being able to compete on the field. I just
Mhm.
trying to figure out if that was a VHSL thing, or is that a region, or is that a combination of looking out for the guy and let's keep this program rolling, or let's get this program back to prominence?
No, we do have some examples of just that, where schools that are trying to get themselves built back up maybe play just a JV schedule. And that's just done in cooperation with the schools in that district to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it that way. Um, uh, Sometimes it's a little bit, sometimes schools will struggle because they don't want to put themselves out there to be in that predicament. But it it happens, and we just try to work with them because the last thing we want to do is for kids to not have an opportunity to play and participate in a sport that they want to be a part of. So we do as best we can within our current handbook and our policies. We try to allow that to happen, and if it's playing a JV schedule, that's what we would try to do.
Well, I think that's meaningful to me, and I didn't realize you guys actually went behind the scenes and did stuff like that. So, you know, maybe the negative things that I've mentioned in the past, that'll whitewash that, and I appreciate you looking out for the guys.
No, we do the best we can. We're not perfect, and still got some things that we can continue to improve on and continue to work on. But I think overall uh, we're in a pretty good place. We've got some things we got to clean up with our sportsmanship and probably look at some transfer legislation and continue to look at NIL and things of that nature. But it's never a dull moment, that's for sure.
Chris, I want to ask you one more if you have time.
Absolutely.
Kind of a niche sort of issue here, but there's a certain high school out of Richmond that has won three basketball state championships in a row by an average of something like
Hmm.
50 something points.
Hmm.
With transfers coming into the school, do you ever do you think that the VHSL will ever go away from enrollment-based classes and more of like a, I don't know, if like an English Premier League type thing where there's relegation and going up in divisions based on your record, based on championships, things like that?
That is a topic of conversation as we speak. You're talking about alignment. And yes, right now we use the March ADM numbers to help put schools in a classification. And then from the classifications, they get put in the regions and the districts and whatnot. I do think we just did a we're actually in the process of building, it's hand in hand. We're in the process of putting together our next strategic plan. And part of that survey that was sent out to stakeholders around the state were parents, students, coaches, ADs, principals, superintendents, school board member, community members, anyone had the ability to participate in that survey. And one of the things we talked about is how should alignment be done? Should it be March ADM? Should it be geographic location? Should it be a competitive balance? Some type of competitive balance data point formula that can be used. Certainly, there was a lot of responses toward competitive balance, but we also had part of the survey where people could write in their feedback. It wasn't just checking boxes. And again, going back to like where we first started earlier tonight, competitive balance to some people meant getting those districts back where they meant something and they were a part of the advancing model. Some of the competitive balance was, if Gregory pulls those top 20 lists back up, you have 18 schools in a region and you have 9 schools in a region.
Mhm.
So is it fair that I wasn't really saying you had to do that, but that's fine. But so for
Oh
example,
yeah.
if you go to go up to 6B real quick. Back the other, yeah, back down. Yeah. So like
Wow.
6B, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's 18. But
Wow.
then if you look at 6A, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 11. So 18 in one region, 11 in the other. So a lot of folks, their feedback was about balancing the regions. And we acknowledge that. We would want to balance those regions out. But we're also a membership driven organization. We're not a top down organization, especially when it comes to alignment. I work with alignment, and nothing brings out the emotions and the passions of school communities quite like alignment. So, not to get too far off task here, your question was about will there be other things? Those are things that we're looking at and also trying to figure out, okay, what would that look like? What does a competitive balance piece look like? You also have states where Pennsylvania, for example, hopefully I'll say this right, their alignment takes into account the number of transfers that you receive.
Oh, wow.
So if you take in, and hopefully I'm not misspeaking, that's one thing I've got to follow back up on and make sure what they're doing. But if you were to get X number of transfers, then that could factor into you going up into another higher classification kind of thing. You also have other states that Pennsylvania is one that if you transfer after your 10th grade year, you're not eligible for postseason.
Mm.
So you can play a regular season, but you can't play in the postseason. You also have a state that it's just a flat, you sit for 1 year if you transfer. Now, for us, that sounds really good. Sounds like it would probably clean up a lot of the issues and some of the headaches. But in the state of Virginia, where you have the Tidewater, which has a lot of military installations, Northern Virginia has the Pentagon and a lot of government agencies where parents, those kids don't have a say in where their parents are being transferred to.
Right.
Right.
So we would need to have some exceptions in place to work through those kinds of issues. So there's not a perfect answer, but if you got any suggestions or any math you want to send me on a competitive balance formula, I would love to see it.
I'll do my
Chris,
math.
what do you think about? I think is California. Do they have like an open classification where they can take anyone, or it's kind of like that Premier League Devin was talking about, where they can take any high school and play? Is that something that he's talking about, or sound familiar?
I honestly don't know anything about
Gotcha,
California, so it would be hard for me to respond to that.
gotcha.
I think, and see, I think what's tough, I don't know if I say it makes it tough, but one of the things, like a lot of the states, Ohio, for example, and again, it goes back to earlier conversation, their association has both public and private schools in their membership. So West Virginia has public and private in their membership. So some of their competitive balance was to help offset the perceived advantages that a private school may have, so they can be placed accordingly in their model. And I think Gregory brought up earlier, LCA did have a multiplier when they first came in, but that has since been discontinued because they're just drawing from the single district that they're located in. When they first opened, they might have been drawing from the Heritage Zone, the EC Glass Zone, and so on and so forth. But now they're just drawing from that LCA zone where they're located. So that's no longer in play for them.
If a new private school came in, would they come in with a multiplier until they can get that zone set up, or they set up before they came in?
Well, it depends on, again, where they're probably located and if they're drawing from other school systems versus kids are just coming
Gotcha.
to school there. So, for example, Smith Mountain Lake is will be a Class 1 school, and right now their intent is to not get any bigger than where they are now. They're not looking to grow. At least that's their intent right now. So they would be Class 1 and be there for the foreseeable future.
Okay. I know we don't want to hold you too long. Is there any other questions for Chris so he can get out here and watch some World
Yeah,
Series?
he gets a chance to see the end of the World Series. So I'll ask my last question, and this is probably a quick answer. Will we ever go back to the 1957 Hickory basketball team and have one state champion throughout all classes? Like, I mean, Indiana did it forever in basketball. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious if we'll ever do that again in Virginia or anything like that in Virginia.
I think you never say never. If a principal or a school or a district wants to put forth some proposal to move to that model, that certainly could be under consideration. But in the same breath, I'll tell you that I think a lot of our schools are happy with the sixth class. I mean, it works for them and for them, they feel it gives them a better chance competitively because obviously with more classes, there's less schools in a classification, so it increases their opportunity for a potential state championship. So I think people are pretty happy. I think one of the other things that will, and in the same breath, I'll say again, a part of this alignment review is going to be, we've been asked to look at the number of classifications. Do we maybe look at 5? Do we look at 4? Because in some cases, the flip side of it is you have some people that think we've watered it down too much. It's been watered down too much. So maybe we should look to decrease the number of classifications. Some have even talked about, do we align by classification by sport?
Wow.
Now, again, that sounds really good, but I don't know that would end up very well in a legal situation because how do you justify, doing one way and not doing that for the others and so forth. So it's just, there's always that sort of that give and take. So.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll end it with my last question. How difficult is it for the VHSL to kind of set up these state championships? I know there's like classifications all over the state, and you want to have a neutral site, so you're constantly kind of moving things around from Richmond to the Tidewater for football and stuff like that, and you kind of have a home base there for 1A, 2A down there in Salem, and I guess Liberty kind of being like your 3 and 4.
Yeah, if you're talking specifically about football, you're exactly right. Obviously, Salem has been very good to the Virginia High School League with state championship events, and that includes football. We do a lot of our spring jubilee, baseball, softball, soccer. There's been tennis there previously. We do a lot of that in the Roanoke, Salem area. The city of Salem is phenomenal. We do our wrestling. Three of the six classifications go to the Salem Civic Center. But again, depending on what you're talking about, we do as best we can try to move our championships around to prevent the same schools having to travel the furthest distance year after year. Now, in some cases, what makes that a little bit challenging is we don't have people just knocking down our door to host these championships. There's obviously a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of staffing that goes into it. There's a time commitment, obviously. But we have built some very good relationships. This year, Class 5 and 6 football will go to James Madison.
Oh,
I was
wow.
actually there today, doing a site visit ahead of those football games there in December. Indoor things such as indoor track or swimming, you're a little bit limited because there's only so many facilities in the state to begin with. So you're a little bit at the mercy of the venue. They're nice enough because they're working with us and to accommodate us, but they also have their college teams and college conferences that are trying to do the events there as well. So by and large, we do the best we can, but certainly we're always looking for people that are willing to host. And I'll say this: I know GW has reached out a little bit with some of their renovations that they've done about possibly looking at an outdoor track situation with their partnership with Averett now and what's going on. So you just never know. But
I'm so
we're in
sorry.
pretty good shape.
I have one more off the top of the topic about the state championships. I know that basketball is at VCU. Is there ever going to be a point where they go back to 3 different areas or 3 different state championship venues like football does, or is it going to be at VCU for the long term?
Again, you never say never. But sort of I hate to sort of isolate or put people. VCU has been phenomenal to work with because they're at the Siegel Center. They obviously, as you said, host our basketball tournament. We're going to host state cheerleading there in another week. We also host part of our volleyball there. 4, 5, and 6 boys and girls volleyball goes there. So when you have those kinds of relationships, it's a financial piece, it's a staffing piece, it's give or take the center of the state. So everybody's traveling similar distances. It also is actually we have a membership meeting twice a year, once in October, once in March, where all 318 schools come together, where we meet and talk about policy, legislation, state tournaments, state championships, state events, just A to Z as it relates to the Virginia High School League. So it is centered around that meeting. We've talked about moving off of that, but just to give you an example of the relationship, VCU calls us to find out when our basketball tournament is because that's when their board of trustees puts their spring break. So we're just fortunate that we have that kind of relationship, so we don't have that overlap with the student body, and the parking is much easier with the garages that are around there. So that's just a very minute piece of what goes into some of these championship events and having the available space to do it.
For sure. Well, I think we've talked Chris's ears off. We do apologize, but there's a lot of quick questions and you got some good answers.
I enjoyed it. I appreciate you having me. I hope you'll have me back. Hopefully I did a good enough job where you might invite me back. Hopefully it won't be 25 years before Greg calls me again.
No, we need to do this like by the time the state championships roll around and stuff. And I guess I need to apologize to you now. I thought you were stealing from VHSL, but you on top of your game. You know your stuff.
Well,
I'm
well,
impressed.
I think we can acknowledge that you did give me some of the talking points ahead of time, but you all have hit me with some pretty good questions that were not part of those talking points, and
Yeah,
I think I've carried myself pretty good. But
I think you did
no,
great.
hey, we uh the staff will be meeting here. What is that date? The 10th? Sunday the 10th, not Monday, sorry, Sunday morning, November 10th, we'll be meeting to finalize these regional playoffs. So maybe we can get back together and talk a little bit about that when we know who's advanced and what they look like. But that's
Definitely.
up to you all. This is your show.
No, we would.
We
That's
would
what
love
we need
Absolutely.
that.
to do. Yep.
Well, I'll let Big Greg kind of move us on.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, y'all have
Hey,
a good evening.
thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Chris.
Appreciate
All right.
everything.
Thanks,
All right, man.
Talk to
Chris.
you
Y'all be
soon.
good.
That
Wow.
was awesome.
Yeah, that was
I
really
mean,
good.
Indeed.
my head is
Yeah.
spinning actually because I
I
did
have a
not
lot.
realize everything was that involved. I really never did.
Yeah, I have a lot more questions, but I know we don't want to keep them up all night. So, just a great interview with Chris. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, but gosh, I know. I guess we should go over some ODAC real quick.
Yeah.
Let's talk
ODAC
some
and
ODAC.
yeah.
So, big games last week. Um, kind of surprising scores actually. I mean, it wasn't really any close games last week.
It wasn't.
Shenandoah, we talked about their high flying offense, 42-10 over Guilford. Um, our biggest game of the week we talked about last week that would determine the standings and kind of those bowls and playoff uh, bids there. Right now, making 49-16 over Bridgewater.
Mm.
Did not see that coming. I thought it'd be a lot closer, but Macon might be setting them up for a good playoff run if they can play good ball like that. Sydney back on the win column there. Coach LeVar gets a win over Averett University, 42-21. And Washington Lee runs the ball over Ferrum, 34-0. I was kind of worried about that game a little bit. Ferrum came off a big win against was that Hampton City just a week ago. So I thought they'd give Washington Lee more fits, but they handled them 34-0.
Um, we got we got a couple big ball games this weekend actually in the ODAC. I don't know if you were going to go over those, but without getting to those yet, I would love to see Guilford get back on course this weekend. I think Ferrum visits Guilford, so I'd like to see them get that 0 out of the win column, get a big W. So I think they can do it this weekend. I really do.
Yeah, I think we have to send Devin out to Heritage and EC Glass if he doesn't come down to Jacksonville. So we'll see. On Friday and then Saturday, I think we got sending him to Lexington, Virginia.
It would
A
be. That's a
big ball game
huge game.
for
Yeah.
ODAC rights.
I called 2 weeks ago. I said the winner of Bridgewater and Rainoff Macon would win the conference, but I'm not so sure about it now. I mean, that's a tall task going to Lexington playing Washington Lee. So we'll see. I would love to go see that game though.
So I mean, if there's going to be a loss in the L or a loss in the column for Randolph Macon, it's got to be this weekend, right? I mean, they're playing the other team who was 4-0 in the conference, and it's a away game. So this might be their best chance for someone to knock off Randolph Macon. So it'll be interesting to see.
We'll go for what Coach LaRose said. I mean, he's going to run that football. So if he runs that football like he says he is and controls the clock, that's going to take a lot away from Macon's ability to get up and down the field pretty quick.
Yeah. And then the other one, we have Bridgewater and Hampton Sydney. So that'll be a good one as well. So Coach LeVar, they always have a good team, and Coach with Carter Cito as the quarterback. So it could be a really good, really high scoring game with Carter Cito there for Hampton Sydney running and throwing the ball. And then you have Jasir Bateman there for Bridgewater as well, able to run it and throw it too. So I predict a high scoring game for this one.
I think I'm just going to go off on a limb and say I think Bridgewater pulls it out though.
And also this weekend is very it's going to tell us a lot about who knows ball. If y'all don't remember, we picked our conference champions. Big Greg picked WNL, and I had Randolph Macon. So if whoever wins this weekend is going to determine who knows ball. So we'll see about that.
Definitely.
I mean, of course, you two take just the top two predicted teams and leave me with. Never mind. I'm not going to go any further than that.
Look,
they were good.
They're 2-2. You're still in the race.
I know you never know what happens. I mean, there could be a lot of losses going on here. I mean, you could have Randolph Macon lose this weekend, and then the end of the year, Hampton City could knock off Randolph Macon there too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Sure.
don't
All
sell,
right. All right.
don't sell yourself short.
Hey, Gregory,
Don't sell Coach LeVar
I,
short.
I need to get on him anyway because
Oh boy.
transitioning into the NCAA football FBS. I think if you rewind the tape from last week, somebody said UCF was going to test BYU last week. I think it was the little guy down in the bottom down there. If I pretty
Did
sure.
he?
Yes,
I
yes.
don't think that was said at
Rewind
all.
that
I
I
think
tape.
I've been calling
we
BYU
we had to
a
go back and see
playoff
that
team.
because Devin's been all big time BYU. Maybe it was me.
Whoa now.
One of y'all said UCF would test BYU. It didn't turn out to be much of a test.
I think that was your eldest. I think that
Was
was
it?
what you're doing.
I don't think
Yeah.
I said it either. I think Big Greg Kai said it and
Well,
blaming us for it.
go back and listen to the tape. Hey, Boise handled their business at UNLV. I was really surprised that the Alabama Mizzou score 34-0. But I've been telling y'all, Mizzou has that one game every year where they lose 55-0, 69-0. I mean, it's crazy. Navy kind of let me down a little bit. I thought that would be very competitive. 51-14 lost to Notre Dame. And Illinois couldn't put anything together against Oregon, got run out of the building. So Vandy stuck it out, man. I mean, let's give anchors down for Vandy. Only lost 27-24. We hit on this last week, Miami and FSU. It turned out to be a little bit of a better game than what was thought of because I know somebody said that they could be a 60-point ball game, but that's okay. When those two get together, I don't care if both buses break down. I could care less. But, looking ahead for Miami, they got 4 games that should be in the bag. They should be undefeated going to, I guess, Charlotte. Is that where the ACC championship is still?
I believe so, yeah.
So they should be undefeated going down there. So it's a matter of who's going to join them.
Yeah, I just Florida, Georgia. So I mean, I think Georgia rolls us, but I mean that's always a good one there and here in Jacksonville. 50-50 split as far as the fans go. Ohio State and Penn State. This will determine the Big Ten here. So Penn State, I think the quarterback may be hurt. Was it Drew Aller or is that who it is?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I don't know if he's doubtful or questionable for the game, but they definitely need him for Ohio State. And this is time for James Franklin to get over the hump. He hasn't been able to beat Ohio State and Michigan to get into the playoffs and stuff like that, or make it to the conference championship. So this will be a big one for him. Ole Miss goes to Arkansas will be a good one too. Watch out for that one. I think.
Can we go back just a second for one thing?
Oh, what's that?
UNC beat UVA at UVA over the weekend, 41-14. And I've got 3 helmet stickers right now that I need to give out. Actually, I got 4. You know who always going to get one? Ashton Jonty got another one. They said they was going to shut him down. He still went 33 for 128 and a touchdown. So anyway, I got 3 helmet stickers for the same team, believe it or not. Anybody want to guess who it is? Jacoby Criswell, 19 of 30, 293, 2 touchdowns. Omarion Hampton, 26 rushes, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. J.J. Jones, 5 receptions, 129 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Finally, off the snide.
I think you got to throw Javari Ritzy in there too, getting the 85-yard pick 6 as a D lineman. So that was fun to watch. I got a helmet sticker too myself from the college ranks. I'm actually going back to the ODAC here. Got a kid, Matt Conroy, out of Shenandoah, and a 42-10 victory over Guilford. Kid is the second leading tackler in the ODAC, but had 4 tackles in this game, 2 INTs, one of them for a pick 6 and a forced fumble on the day. He's your ODAC Defensive Player of the Week. So
wow,
I like that. And we talk about Shenandoah's offense, and they got some players on defense too.
That's homework right there.
Homework.
I didn't get no praise for my homework last week. I mean, I had all the ODAC stats. I mean, gosh.
Yeah, but you know what? You picked the easy offensive guys. See, Devin went on the other side of football.
Yeah, I literally just looked up the Defensive Player of the Week in the ODAC. So
wow. I mean, come on. This kid, he just shows up and he gets praised.
He had us fooled, man. I thought he did his homework.
I got to ask y'all's opinion because I think I asked the hardest hitting question of the night during that interview earlier.
Hold on.
John Marshall. I
I
mean,
texted you to ask that. Look at your Snapchat. Look at your Snapchat.
he
Hold
did
on,
not
look,
do
look.
that.
Can you show the screen real quick? Look at your Snapchat.
All right, he did do that.
Oh, he
I
did.
I told him I had something good before he
Oh,
said that.
God.
So
I said, yeah, I asked about John Marshall. But I mean, nothing against John Marshall, the school or the players or anything like that. But you do notice that this team is just crushing 2A schools. Like they're getting state championship and it's not even close. Nothing in the playoffs is close. So um, I don't know if they recruit and get a bunch of transfers in there or what the deal is, but it is something to talk about and kind of see what they might do about them.
I just know the Sinners don't go to Chapel Hill like they're supposed to.
Mm,
Yeah.
man, but
Hey, there's another big ball game. Did you mention 18 Pitt at 20 SMU Saturday?
no, that's a good one too.
Yep, they're both of them 4-0 in the conference. So actually Pitt's 3-0, sorry. Miami's 4-0. Clemson's still 5-0, guys. So Clemson will have to play Pitt. So Pitt can play themselves into it or play themselves out of it over the next couple weeks.
Virginia Tech goes to Syracuse. I mean, they're still in the hunt too. I mean, just looking at the ACC standings, Clemson's 5-0, Miami 4-0, SMU 4-0, Pitt's 3-0. Then you have Tech there at 3-1. So they can win out and they can play themselves into a potentially get into the ACC championships depending on what happens in front of them. So they're looking a lot better than they did a couple weeks ago. So
All right, y'all. I've got a question, big question for both of you. I want both of you to answer the question first and foremost. Okay.
oh gosh,
Does the University of Florida have the ability to make this a football game this weekend?
you want a real answer? I'll you don't have to ask Devin. Ask me. We had the players to make it a game. We don't have the coaching to make it a game. That's the issue.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you'll watch the game. You'll see that it'll be close in the beginning. Florida might score, go up a touchdown, or it'll be 7-7. And then when Florida has momentum coming down this field, you're gonna see Billy Napier do something just out of the ordinary, and we're gonna lose all momentum, and it's gonna be a blowout. So to let you know what's gonna happen. Last year we were up 7-0. Trey Wilson scores a touchdown. We get the ball back. Our Georgia scores. We go for it on fourth down. Call this a crazy play, and the game's over. So we'll see.
he said all that needed to be said. Carson Beck is not having the year that
Yeah.
we thought he would have, and somehow, even despite how bad he played against Texas, they still win by, it was a 2 touchdown game late in the game. So, and they dominated Texas with their defense. So, I mean, I think Florida has a chance to make some noise early, like Gregory was saying, especially with DJ Lagway at quarterback. But
Yes.
I
This could be
can't.
it'll be a good week for him to learn against a top defense. I mean, you can see his arm talent there. He can throw some deep balls. So I think his arm will keep Georgia on their toes. I don't think they can load the box up. He might go over top. So I think it sets up well for Florida. They can establish some deep balls and run the ball. That's Billy Napier's thing, is running the ball. So if they can work their game plan. If he can do what he needs to do, they have a shot. But it's Billy Napier.
What I was going to say was the three of us have been on Napier's back all year, and I will say this: y'all say he'll do something crazy. I think Kirby Smart will do something even more crazier, because he's that type, as we've discussed in the past, where he'll have all the momentum and he'll find a way, such as a squib kick or onside kick to start the second half or in the middle of the third quarter or something stupid. He'll find a way to do that and keep somebody in the ball game, if not even lose it. I'm not saying Florida's going to win the football game. I want to see a really tight game. I really do. I want to see them stay in the ball game and, for his sake, win one, actually.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully I get the chance to watch it. So I'll have two screaming kids probably during the game. So I'll be screaming with them. But just kind of hit on something before we kind of get to our ad read. World Series is 3-1. I think Yankees are up tonight.
It was tied.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it could end tonight.
5-0 to start out, and then Dodgers came back during our interview. Actually, came back, made it a 5-5 game. So
Man, man.
Well,
Think it ends tonight?
I'll tell you this, and I haven't seen the first inning. I haven't seen anybody do anything tonight, but it's got to be, as much momentum as the Yankees had last night playing and hitting and doing whatever. And would they wind up winning 11-4? And then to be up 5-0 in of the first or second inning, and then all of a sudden it goes by the wayside. That's a tough pill to swallow. So I don't know if you can actually recover within a game to do that. So
Yeah.
I just think I think it ends tonight. I do. I'll go ahead and say it now because I just don't think you go through. I mean, that's a big roller coaster ride right there.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else you want to do before we get off here? I know we've been.
Hey, but let me say something because you guys have watched baseball all year and you continue to watch baseball, especially in the World Series. So tell me what the difference is. And I wrote this down. I should have said it earlier, but tell me what the difference is in a bullpen game and what everybody does anyway, because I kind of get the what bullpen game means. That means you're going to start somebody. I used Joe last year in the World Series. He started game 3 or 4, I can't remember which one it was, and his job was to go through or get 3 outs, turn it over to the next guy in the bullpen. His job go through 3 and get so on and so on until you finish the 9th inning. So, but what I'm getting at right now is, yeah, the Dodgers had played that game last night, but in reality, every game in my book is a bullpen game because half the time you're taking the starter out somewhere in the 4th or 5th inning, and then you're turning it over to reliever or relievers to pitch multiple innings. And I don't see what the difference is anyway. So, you got one guy that starts and pitches 3 or 4 more innings than somebody else does. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I think that's all it is. It's just like we're gonna give some guy in the bullpen a chance to start and give our starters a rest, and then you hope that he can go a few innings, and then if he can't, get another guy loose in the bullpen. So yeah, you just kind of throw a few bullpen guys out there. But yeah, it seems like in the playoffs, you're right. I think if the starters get in trouble, in the first 4 innings or 5 innings, you're not waiting to see what's going on like they do in the regular season. So you're going after them in the first place. So yeah, I see what you're saying.
Well, the good thing is, at least now the rule is you have to pitch to 3 batters. So,
Yeah.
you just can't go out there and yank them like you used to, one batter on, one batter off. So I'm just glad to see that at least that part still stays in play.
Yeah. Is there anything else, guys?
I think we beat that horse.
Yes, this is our end of our episode actually. So this is kind of a little bit different. So we had Chris on for a while, asked a lot of questions. I think it was a really good interview. So Big Greg and I have been.
He texted me afterwards, wanted to know how we thought it went. And I told him that we thought it was awesome, and
Yeah,
he's eager to get it back on some other time. So
yeah,
we need to get him back and talk more.
I think a lot of people out there who follow VHSL or follow Virginia sports are going to want to hear some stuff about this too. So they have a lot of questions as well. So really good episode. We're working on a ODAC series preview of the season. So Greg and I have been doing some interviews, and Devin will have a chance to get on some interviews too. Hopefully this Friday. So we'll see. But
glad he was here tonight. At least we heard his voice in this interview tonight.
Yeah, don't text him at 8:44 talking about the 8:45 interview, please.
Every minute counts. I'm fashionably late to everything.
Well, let's get on. Just kind of one thing quick. So if there's a business out there in the Roanoke, Virginia, or Roanoke, Danville, Lynchburg area, you want to advertise with us, let us know. We have some things that we can work with. So I know I sent a couple things out, so just let us know if you're interested. But let's get to our ad read for our sponsor currently, Twisted Dreams.
Yeah, Twisted Dreams is taking us to Phoenix. But anyway, Twisted Dreams is the proud sponsor of the District 2 Sports Podcast. Twisted Dreams ownership is locally born and bred and is the manufacturer and distributor of hemp-based products such as THCA gummies and THCA flower in pre-rolls and various bud sizes that meet all of your medical and relaxation needs. Please use the online link twisteddreamsthca.myshopify.com. That's twisteddreamsthca.myshopify.com for a Twisted Dreams purchase and receive a 15% discount just by referencing the District 2 Sports Podcast. Tell them Big G, Little G, and Dev sent you.
Well, we do appreciate our sponsor, and that's it for episode, I believe 13. We'll find out here soon. But follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter. We now have a YouTube page too, so we'll put all of our stuff on there, and we have a lot more stuff coming out for you. Like I said, ODAC basketball. We have a recruiting podcast or episode coming out as well. So just look for us there, and just follow us and leave us some comments. Let us know how we're doing.
Yeah, let people, I mean, get in touch with. If somebody you want to hear that we might be able to interview or talk to or have live, let's get them on here and let us know.
Let's
You
do it.
choose.
All right. We appreciate you guys. Have a good weekend.